Well, the Browns played a hard-fought game on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills, but came up short 23-20. A lot to unpack for this one because, yes, the loss was bad enough, but there was something bigger that they lost in the field on Sunday in running back Quinshon Judkins, which I think told the story of the day. We'll get into it here. Coming up in a post-game conversation here on Browns Roundtable. Spencer German, Anthony Moeglin with you on the home front. And excited to have a chance to talk to you and give you an opportunity to vent here a little bit about what transpired on the field behind me here at Huntington Bank Field. There's a lot to unpack here, obviously. And yeah, I think I do want to remind you guys, as always, to head on over to brownsroundtable.com. Make sure you join our community over there, be part of the conversation. Use that QR code. You're pointing the wrong. By the way, you're pointing the wrong way. You're pointing the wrong way.
Am I? To me, it's the right way. So is it over here for me?
It's over
right
there.
now?
Yeah, it's over your left ear. Yes,
wow,
exactly.
I'm all messed up.
Yeah, it's always
hit the
backwards.
QR code.
It's like the news thing when you're doing the weather and like you do it all backwards. I had to learn that in college.
There we go.
So it's fine.
So did I look like a total? Did I look like a total idiot in pregame when I was like doing this number?
I think you did both, so it was fine. I don't know. I don't really remember. Anyway, that was a long time ago. And also make sure you join join us over at the YouTube channel for Browns Roundtable as well. We got post-game press conferences up over there. And these types of conversations we do post-game, and our weekly podcast as well. Megs, listen, I think the key thing to start with there, I think, is Quinshon Judkins and him being lost for the season. Yeah. Now, Kevin Stefanski told the media after the game that it was a broken fibula and a dislocated ankle, is I believe what he said. And so right now it doesn't appear to be anything structural, and that's the good news. But, you know, this is something that's clearly going to linger into the offseason. And I think why that's so disappointing is in a season with a 3-12 team where there hasn't been a lot to be excited about, the one thing you have had to be excited about is this rookie class. And now one of its key members, guy that everyone's looking forward to sort of building around and being part of this team's future for years to come, has at least a minor setback here, as he's going to, you know, have to go through a pretty notable and crucial rehab process to try to get back out on the field.
No, it was maybe this is exaggerating. Like, to me, it was like devastating. Like the first thing that you could go back to in the first place my mind went to is Nick Chubb. Like, that was literally what it went back to when he was on the field holding his leg and then he got carted off the field. Like, the picture, like, I'm just going to pull this up here real quick because I'm going to pull our title card up. It's the same damn picture that we saw with Nick Chubb. Like, I don't know if you remember that one, but it was like him coming off the field. I tweeted it because it was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, oh my gosh. But for Nick, it happened in year 5 as opposed to year 1 for Quinshon. And you know what really sucks, Spence, is like, for me, like, watching Q run this whole, you know, let's say this last month and a half when the Browns have been clearly eliminated from anything relevant happening this season and anything significant, really, you're like, he takes a freaking beating. Like, you know, we talk about like this offensive line struggling and him not being able to have anywhere to run and all of his yards coming after contact and all that stuff. Like, he takes a beating out there. And I, like, honestly, the sad part is I was like kind of waiting for something like this to happen because, you know, he just his role on this team is just to get killed week after week after week. And finally, and on just an inconsequential play, a swing out to the right. And I thought Shador did a nice job getting him the football, and Matt Milano just came like a bat out of hell and just caught him low and broke his leg. And it was like, oh my God. Like, yeah. I joked with you before we started, like, the season's been bad enough for Browns fans. Like, didn't have to take away the lone bright spot for this team, and they did that. And you know, it's just frustrating, and it honestly is scary for his future too. Like, there's so many layers to it, and just like really sad for him, and it sucks for the current and future Browns here going forward.
Yeah, listen, it sounds like they're going to at least be scanning the knee and sort of get a better sense of if there's anything structural there, but it doesn't sound like initially that's going to be the issue. So that's the positive thing, right? Is generally recovery from a broken leg isn't, you know, as prohibitive from a guy returning, but these things can take time, and sometimes it can impact a player, at least for a little bit, as they kind of get their feet back underneath them. The nice thing, like you said, that's different from the Chubb situation is that Quinshon's so early in his career. And he, you know, he'll have plenty of time to bounce back from this. Kevin expressed that you know, that they feel confident he'll be okay, and he'll attack his rehab and get back out there as soon as he can, and that's obviously good news.
Germ, could you guys see it from the press box?
No,
like, did you see his leg going
so on the replay, you noticed his leg was kind of sticking out funny, and that's where I was like, oh, that definitely doesn't look good. I know they didn't show it on the broadcast. They didn't re-show it, I saw. And so we kind of got a sense of what it was from that. I knew something was wrong though. Like even after the play happened, Quinshon gets hit, ball comes out.
Yeah.
I see them scoop it, and I was like, I just kept watching Quinshon because I know like it was noticeable how he didn't get up, like he stayed down, and then I was like,
Yeah.
And so listen, like I this doesn't mean like Quinshon's career's over. Like I don't think it's that by any stretch, and so it's not like this overly ominous thing in terms of the future necessarily. But I do think like in a year where so much has gone wrong, it's another 3-win team this year. Like it just is. It's another one of these things that you like add to the list of just frustration. And listen, I said it, like there has not been a lot for fans to be excited about this year with this football team. And the one thing you had was Carson Schlesinger and Mason Graham and Quinshon and hey, Harold Fannin Jr., who did score twice today. He had a really good game. Broke the franchise record for receptions by a rookie in a season, in their rookie season. So that's exciting for him. But now you lose one of those guys, and it's like this team's playing these inconsequential games, and now it's impacting potentially like the team next year when they're supposed to be like building towards that future that we're all so excited about because this year ain't it. And I think that's probably what I take away from that is just I feel for the fans on that because it has been a frustrating season, and now you really can't even have like the one bright spot that you had now gets kind of blown out like a candle because you can't like there's just nothing to there's you lose that, like you can't even have that
germ and even the worst part of it.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like there's this rookie class is offering hope for the future.
Yeah.
And it feels like some of that got stamped out today, even though I know it's not going to probably end his career and all those things. It's just, man, like you can't even just finish the season with those guys healthy and be like,
give us a little bit of happiness.
We're turning the page on 2025 and looking forward to Quinshon and all these guys being great for 2026. Now he's going to have to deal with questions about how's the leg, when can you get out there, all those things. I understand why that's got to be frustrating.
Germ, even the worst part is like it happened in a game where the Browns were competing with one of the AFC's best, and you're like in this football game, you're like, hey, we might actually win this thing, and then that happens, you're like, oh my god. Like, come on, it can't be real, but that's Cleveland Browns football for you, I guess.
Yeah. I will say like positive that even when Quinshon left, the run game continued to be effective with Raheem Sanders and Travion Williams out there. Travion Williams had 3 rushes for 17 yards. Raheem Sanders had 11 for 42 yards. The Browns as a whole today amassed over on the ground 100. They got finished with 160 yards, which was the most in a single game for the season. They averaged 5.2 yards per carry. So that did bounce back in a big way, and that was an encouraging thing. We kind of expected that, right? Like, this Bills defense has struggled against the run, a lot of injuries, all those things. What I said pregame, though, sort of came to fruition here. The team that was going to win the run game was going to win the game, and the Bills outrushed the Browns 164-160, and they won the game. And listen, there was opportunities in this thing because I guess it wasn't even a missed field goal because he didn't get the kick to even kick it.
Oh my god!
And at the end of the first half, you could have tried to kick a field goal there, but Corey Bojorquez, can't handle the snap. At least it looked like it looked clean to me on the snap, but somebody mentioned it might have been a low snap. I didn't go back and watch it since I watched the initial replay and that was it. But and it's just another one of these instances where you're like, man, special teams cost you a chance to steal a game against one of the best teams in football, and you're left frustrated by that too.
Spence, I mean, like we are, and I'm pulling a tweet up here because I saw something earlier. What do we have? 5 games that have been lost? Like you could directly point at a special teams play and was like, yeah, that's kind of the reason why the Browns lost this game. And I look at you, I hate to talk about like firing or anything like that, but like I just found it. The Rams, okay, the Los Angeles Rams, the best coach in football, one of the best coaches in football, Sean McVay. They lose on Thursday night because of special teams, and on Friday the Rams fired their special teams coordinator because I saw something
Yeah.
floating around out there. Like, that's accountability, right? This person cost this team a chance to win their division, and they lost their job because
Yeah,
of it.
I'll say this real quick. I can't speak to like how the Rams special teams have been all year because I don't like watch
Sure.
the tape on them every week. But I'm assuming that wasn't just like a one-off either. Like
Right.
I'm assuming this is like an accumulation of like there's just been too many errors on that side of the ball. We got to do something different.
And like, let's just, I mean, the Browns are a bad football team, but if it's even 4 games that are flipped around by special teams, and this is a 7-win team, sure, they're maybe not making the playoffs, but you can get excited about stuff, right? You can be excited about things and this team going forward. But now you're building this losing culture, and all these players know is losing. Now you lose your running back of the future to a broken leg, and now you're staring down the barrel of everything that Browns football has ever been. Like, you go back 2 years, we were in the playoffs, things were looking up. You're like, hey, we can do this. And now to fast forward 2 years and you go back-to-back 3-win seasons, and you're like, what the hell? How did we get here? Because of all this stuff, and it's just a sad reality of the entire situation.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. And I agree with you. Like, people have been asking for accountability all year, especially as special teams are concerned, and they're not really getting it because this team doesn't want to. And I understand too, like the thought process of, we've learned our lesson. We're not just gonna like fire people mid-season and do this anymore. We want to, show some confidence and see these things through. We don't just want to like, do that anymore and be like reactionary. And I think that is probably a lot of what that is. Like, Jimmy Haslam's been criticized so much for being overreactionary at times and just like making gut reaction decisions or visceral decisions. And I think it's kind of been reflected it's reflected poorly on him. And so I think now he has to be more patient with it, not just like pull the trigger on those things. But, there's been more than enough reasons to fire Bubba Ventrone this year. And I'm not saying, like I've said a dozen times, like I love Bubba Ventrone. I think he's a good dude. Yeah. I think he's a good coach. When it's all said and done, it's not his fault too that like the roster's limited. He brought that up a couple weeks ago. But when things aren't getting corrected and it's like every week, like at some point, something has to change. We don't know what the future holds in general for the staff, but I think in some respects, like, we know at least that's going to probably change, and then whether or not it's a whole coach cleaning house or whatever remains to be seen. I know it was that story from Ian Rappaport. We talked about a pregame a little bit about what's to come, but I don't know, man. Like I there's nothing really else to say about the special teams because
it was just funny, man. It was
every week at this point, and like this week it was like, oh, the kickoff coverage on the opening kickoff was actually pretty good today. Solid. And then like you end the second half with that, and it's like every week you're pointing at something that's costing them in special teams. And you're right. Like you can literally point to, I think, at least 3 games at this point and say, if special teams is better in these 3 games, you might win. The Jets game, the Bengals game,
this game,
the Titan game, this game, you at least maybe tie with that field goal. Like, I don't know. And by the way, like underlying story in all this, the Browns actually have a kicker they can kind of rely on right now. It's like the one consistent thing they have is a kicker that they can
funny
rely
enough,
on.
Which cost them in week 1, like cost them the game in week funny. 1 against Cincy.
He was the story for a week. Browns need a new kicker. Cut this guy. Cut Andre Schmidt.
Who's this Schmidt guy? This is a Schmidt guy.
And now he's like as consistent as ever.
He drilled that. He hit that 41-yarder.
He's missed one other field goal, I think, this season.
Yes,
he's attempted. Good. I mean, I know he hasn't had a ton of opportunities either because the Browns' offense is so bad. But like, I'm pretty sure he's only missed 2 field goals this season, and now I want to look this up just to be safe to make sure that I'm right about this. But I'm pretty sure it's only been 2 field goals. Total field goals, he's missed 3.
Okay.
18 of 21 is what he is for the season. Still, like, that's not bad.
No.
But yeah, like again, the special teams are what they are. I don't like. I don't know what good it would do to fire Bubba Ventrone at this point. Like, you made it this far. Yeah. But I'm assuming if nothing else changes, I think they're probably going to have a new special teams coach in here. But but the other thing that's interesting with that is, like, then you're talking about Kevin Stefanski being a coach who has now at some point changed out all his coordinators, but he still is still here. Yeah, so you're running out of places you can sort of point the finger in that way, and that's notable as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was actually laughable, right? Where they like actually get a break and they're like, hey, Josh Allen inexplicably runs 20 yards backwards, and then they hit a bad punt, and Gage Larvadain makes a mistake and starts running around, but they get a face mask, and you're like, yes, this happens to every other team other than Cleveland. And then they snap it and he drops the kick, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Just an unfortunate, obviously,
Yeah.
situation once again. What did you think about Kevin Stefanski's decision to go for it 4th and 2 from their own 44 late in the fourth quarter? I'm
Yeah,
curious your thoughts.
I thought it was. I honestly thought it was okay. Like
Yeah.
if you give the ball, if you punt that thing away, right, you push the Bills back, and now the Bills were sputtering a little bit, but that is Josh Allen. Like I don't care how bad he's playing. You give Josh Allen the football at any time, he's going to go and win the game. So if you give it to him, and actually, Germ, like if you give it to him and they have to punt it away, they punt it and they create some field position, and they punt it back to Cleveland. That's going to take a lot of time. If you just shrink the field a little bit and expedite that process, now you just know you have to get a touchdown anyway. So it's like, all right, like if they go score a touchdown, it is what it is, right? But if they go kick a field goal, then you have the opportunity to go. And I think they went for it on 4th down that time. And so at least you're getting a touchdown. I had no problem with them going for it on 4th down, just to try to continue to build on that momentum that they had. But ultimately it came up short, which sucked. But I actually like the play call, to be honest with you.
The one where, because listen, like I thought Shador gets sacked, and we're all talking about that play. No matter what, like if you're going to pass the ball there, it has to be a decision where Shador's getting rid of the ball quickly. And I think that was the biggest thing, was like he didn't get rid of the ball quickly, and then he ends up sacked. And Greg Rousseau chases him down and gets the sack there to sort of end that drive and then give the Bills a short field. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think I don't have a problem with that one. For as critical as I've been as Kevin Stefanski and some of the decisions at other points this season, that one's not one that I'm looking at and saying, yeah, this is a problem. Like I think it was actually like the right call. You're in this game. You're trying to build some momentum. You've been able to run the football. Like we talk about feel so much. The feel in this game was like, hey, we can move the ball in this team. So it's not so much that issue. It was just like, you called a play that Shador didn't get rid of the ball quick, and he ends up sacked on it. So I didn't have an issue with the play call. It stunk that it ended that way because you also gave the Bills even better field position by taking the sack. And I think Shador actually talked about that after the game and kind of said, like, yeah, I got to be better on those, and I got to get rid of the ball quicker and whatever. But it's a learning experience, I guess, for him and going from there. Shador overall today, better completion percentage. He completed in total 20 of his 29 passes, 157 yards. The one touchdown, did have 2 interceptions today. There was some debate online over the first interception and whether or not it was his fault. It hit off of Quinshon Judkins. I think it was that's one of those situations, and I said this on social media, where like 2 things can be true, I think. Like Shador did not throw a very good ball. It was behind him and hit off his shoulder pad as he was trying to get his hands on it. But I'm sure if you ask Quinshon Judkins, he'd say he should have caught that ball.
No doubt.
So I think it's probably both of those things, but I don't know that we need to like dissect every single pass where it's like, oh, that's on this person, that's on that person, and like the whole Shador thing's just become like a blame game every single second, and there's certain people in the media that
trying to figure out that it's not his fault. But yeah, it's like one of those things with quarterbacks, and like I got just one thing to say on it. You just got to know when you're throwing to running backs. You can't. He threw like a little bit of a fastball, like he did, kind of speed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you just can't do that with running backs. You got to slow it down just a little bit. Hit off his. It was one of those that's like, damn, because they were moving the ball really well at the time. Like they went on that first drive all the way down the field. They were driving again. You're like, oh yeah, this team looks like a real team. And you know what was even funnier, Jerm, was like I thought Shador actually played very well, and he was playing really well until he got his foot stepped on. And like talk about another just like Browns thing where he gets his foot stepped on by his own guy, and it rips his throwing pinky open, and then he comes out and he's got a sleeve on his pinky or a bandage, and like that totally changes your feel of throwing a football and makes it dude, I'm telling you, 100 times harder to do.
He said after the game it didn't bother him, and he wouldn't have been back out there if he couldn't throw the ball with it. So there's that. But I mean, even that drive alone though, like you're down in the red zone, and then he leaves, Dylan comes in, gets sacked immediately, and then you have to settle for a field goal. Like maybe you score a touchdown there, it's a little bit different of a game. So we'll never know. But like it was another thing to add to the list in terms of the injury that he suffered on his pinky finger. The second interception, I think, was just another one of those. I'm starting, and I wanted to ask Shador this after the game. Like some of these passes near the line of scrimmage just seem like he's not getting enough air underneath them. And so I'm kind of wondering, like, is it a defensive thing where they're just getting their hands up? Is it something where you need to do a little bit better job of getting it over those guys? But that one was another one of those like sort of deflected interceptions that we've seen in recent weeks. And I think it's another one of those things that Shador's working on. But regardless, I agree with you that I think Shador played relatively well today, going up against a good defense in terms of stopping the pass. And there was a nice sort of complement of run versus pass today when you have like I do think like 30 passes is probably like the sweet spot for Shador.
Yeah.
Like that's probably where you want him in a game. And he got to 29, 69% on the completion percentage, and there was that mix of run and pass because the run game was working so well. You didn't have to have Shador drop back and throw up 40 plus times, and it almost got the job done today.
And part of it too was he was creating with his legs. Like he had 49 yards on the ground, and they were all my favorite part. I got two things on Shador. I'll go positive first. My favorite part early on was just how decisive he was. He was dropping back 3 steps, going through his reads, bang, right to check down, right to check down, right to check down. He was moving the ball, and then when it was time to take a shot down the field, he did that. He did that well. And I was really impressed by how quickly he was making decisions. That's been some of the negative around him has been his processing time. Now, I did have a thought on like the balls getting knocked down. And I had a buddy text me about this. Actually, he's probably on the site. You'll see his name, Dylan Feltovich. He texted me and talked about the tapping. Like, they're making this big deal about when Shador taps his hands and then throws. I think that's a little overblown. Like, it's really hard for a defender to be guarding somebody or to be engaged and see him tap and then throw their hands up. What I do think is true is his release is just very slow. It's just a very, hey, I'm here, and he goes all the way down, almost like a pitcher. He goes like in this big circle where you see these guys with lightning quick releases. Think Matt Stafford, where he's right here and he's just a quick back and through, and that ball's out in an instant. You can't really get your hands up. But when Shador goes to throw it, he drops his arm down, and his arm motion's just really long and out, and it just takes a while for him to get the ball out of his hands. And that's when you get guys with their hands that pop up in the air and just deflect that thing. So just a couple thoughts that just something that I noticed today that, his release was like very methodical. Like it felt like more than normal. And it was just fascinating to see the result of that.
Yeah. I think that's pretty well said in terms of like what's maybe going on there. I'd be curious to get Shador's perspective on it. But yeah, like I thought he was fine today. I thought he played well for where he needed to. The interceptions obviously hurt, maybe not all on him, but they found a way to sort of manage it with the run game. We finally saw a game where he had like a complimentary run game, and that made such a difference, I think, in this one. And you saw them play a competitive football game because of it. I'm curious what that means for this Browns team. The fact that they were so competitive today, a Bills team that you and I both predicted, wasn't going to be very close. You had it as a 41 to 10. Was your score?
17. Yeah, 41-17.
And I think I said 31-17 or 31-10, whatever it was. And the Bills, they did the thing I said would keep this game close, which was I think they sleptwalked through much of this game, especially in the first half. And then you were kind of thinking like, oh, they'll do the thing they always do in the second half and just like explode. And they didn't. They didn't like separate themselves immensely from the Browns, and that gave the Browns a chance up until the very end. And so like I said from the start, like that was going to be a one way this game sort of stayed close was if they sort of sleptwalk through this thing. They did that. And I did think like a week ago, I think we were talking about a football team that looked like they sort of just didn't have a will to play at the end of that game against the Bears in the second half. And maybe the cold had something to do with that. It was cold today, but not quite as cold as that. But that said, I think it means something that they did play hard today and gave themselves a chance to win. I don't know, though, if it's enough to save people's jobs or not. And I think that's the interesting question that you take away from this one. Listen, if they steal one of these next two or both of these and they finish the season with 5 wins, I think that would be a hell of a statement for a team that's contemplating maybe moving off from their coach at the very least. But like today, I think you at least still saw the signs that maybe it's not completely lost. But it ends with another loss, and at the end of the day, like that's the thing that's going to be the blemish on the resume that everyone's going to sort of recognize, and that goes against you.
Yeah, I think again 2 things can be true, and here's the kind of the point that I'm at is like, yes, I do think these guys are still playing, which is awesome, but at some point it's got to be about winning football games, and it's like they are playing hard. They did come out of the gates on fire like that. I think that I don't know the exact stat, but it had to be one of maybe our first opening drive touchdown of the season, and maybe not, but maybe
I think they had one other drive that they scored on the opening drive, but I can't remember if it was While you're talking, I'll look it up because I think I
Was it
remember
against
exactly
the
what game it
Raiders?
was,
Did he do it against
but I
the
could be wrong.
Raiders?
I don't think
But
it was against the Raiders. I don't think it was against the Raiders, but I'll check that game too.
They went right down the field. Boom, 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 boom. They ran it well. They threw it well. It was complimentary. It looked good. Tommy had a great opening script. I thought it was fantastic. And then, then they go down on a second drive and it just kind of gets derailed. But you're like, oh yeah, these boys are playing. They're playing hard. And I think you can attribute a lot of that to it being like a rookie heavy team. And these guys are like, they're having fun still doing it. Like they haven't been bitten by being a veteran in this league yet. But like, yeah, they come out and they play hard and then they lose. And it's like, all right, at some point it's got to be about winning football games. Like I don't care about draft picks. Like obviously today ends up being okay for them, but like, yeah, I mean, it's just got to be about winning at some point. And that's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing.
So I think I found the game. It was the Lions game. Browns first possession.
Yeah, Joe Flacco, baby.
It was the Quinshon Judkins direct snap. It was like the first time they pulled a Wildcat out, I think it was.
That feels like forever ago, huh?
And yeah, so like it's been a while since they've done that. Like I thought that opening drive was great. They stayed ahead of the sticks. They had some really nice plays designed. They did a double reverse with Malachi Corley, and then he tossed it to Isaiah Bond going back the other way, and that ripped off a big gain. So that was exciting. And like you said, I think there were some positive signs today for sure. But I think the overarching feeling around this team still remains, and we got some of this from Ian Rappaport, I know, over the weekend, that there's no decisions been made, but that things are being things are being like talked about within the organization. Yeah. It's going to be something that when the season ends will be discussed even further. And I think that's what we've always said about it, right? This is why nobody really knows what's going to happen, because the last several games here matter in terms of maybe somebody saving their job or not. The last couple of games matter in terms of, results, and then we'll get to the end of the season and Jimmy Haslam will put his head together with whoever he's now confiding in with Paul DePodesta and decide what needs to happen for the future of this franchise. And that might be firing one person. It might be firing two people. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But what I took away from that Rappaport report, it made it sound like Andrew Berry might have some say in this. And that makes me think that at least he is safe for 2026, which I'm sure is going to be something we talk about when the time comes, if it does come, whether or not that's the right decision or not. But yeah, like we always knew this was going to be like an end of season thing. It was never going to be made like in a vacuum right here after one game on a Sunday, because I do think Jimmy Haslam's just gotten away from that. And so there's two games to go. Encouraging signs today with this team fighting as much as they did. And they got 2 weeks to sort of prove we can keep doing that and putting that out there in the field and maybe save people's jobs and keep this thing on the tracks in terms of the people that are in charge right now.
Yeah, or you go to, the Steelers come to town and they're beating the Lions right now, so they come to town on a warpath to get to the playoffs, and then you get to go down to Cincinnati to play a team that just scored 50 points today, or almost 45 points today, and Joe Burrow looked like he was having fun playing football again.
I missed that game completely.
Yeah, they looked like they cared about football again, and it's like, all right, well, those are the two teams left, and you're like, all right, well, good luck, boys, because you go 3-14 again, you're going to have a really hard time selling a lot of people on bringing the whole crew back.
Yeah, Browns are in a precarious spot, but it's also December in Cleveland, and that's kind of just to be expected, I think, at this point. This is what the Browns do, right? Like this time of year, they lose football games. We're talking about coaches being fired. Talking about drafts. Yeah, we're talking about draft picks and who the quarterback's going to be next year.
What is new?
It's supposed to be Christmas and the season of hope and giving and all those things, and all the Browns ever give you is nothing fun. It's all just sad and miserable this time of year in Cleveland.
And we almost got the most Browns ever sack record of all time.
Oh, yes, we didn't even talk about that yet. And that was the stupidest thing. So essentially, like we were very confused in the press box. I think we got the update first. Like Mason Graham was credited with the sack initially because he was the one that touched Josh Allen. But then, like before, like at halftime, they like went back and talked about it, and the scorers decided he gave himself up. And because he gave himself up, like they gave it to the two closest defenders, which were Miles and Alex Wright. So, like Miles has already said he doesn't want to get it, like in some dumb way, like the way that Michael Strahan did. So the fact that it was only a half sack was fine. But I was joking in the press box, like, were they on the sideline when Mason Graham just like, hey, what can we get? Can we give you like a bonus if you give up your sack and like make it a half sack so Miles gets one? Like, what? How did that work? Because I guess I understand, like, by rule they were going by the book of like, this is why it's a sack. But I don't know. That was the flukiest thing ever, and thank God it wasn't for the record, because that would have been lamer, I think, than Brett Favre's and like the taking a dive thing.
My first,
he didn't even get it. He can't celebrate it on the field. It was just, at halftime we decided he gets a half sack.
My first reaction was like, don't give it to him, don't give it to him. And then Germ, they were talking about on the broadcast midway through the third quarter, they were like, oh, and hey, they're still talking about the sack. I'm like, that happened like an hour ago. Like, get off of it, give it to whoever. Don't give it to Miles. Like, don't give it to Miles.
Yeah.
It was weird.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I thought the Bills today made a clear point in like everything they did was we're getting away from Miles.
Yeah,
every boot play was away from Miles. Every time Josh Allen ran, it was away from Miles. There was times where like you could tell Josh Allen's like internal clock. He'd drop back and he'd be like, I'm in this pocket way too long. And he's like, I'm just gone. Like, because he knew like 3 seconds was too long. He was like, if I'm in here 3 seconds, that's too long. Even if I have more time, I'm getting out of here because I just don't want to even get close to Myles Garrett. So I'm sure he got asked about it after the game. I didn't see what his response was. But, that would have been like on a day that was very just disappointing in general. Quinshon gets hurt. The Browns lose again. Christmas is coming and the Browns still stink. It would have been so stupid if like this week was also punctuated by Myles Garrett got the sack record because, well, Josh Allen fell down and they just gave it to him. Like that would have been so silly. So silly.
It would have been the most Browns thing ever on a day full of Browns things. So
there were a lot of Browns things today, including the botched field goal hold, the injuries,
and let's go macro.
Shador's finger, everything.
Let's go macro. The Browns traded with a team who had the 5th overall pick last year, and they're going to win the Super Bowl. The Jaguars are. Yeah,
they're blowing out the Broncos right now.
They are blowing out the Broncos.
By the way,
big
score watch, Raiders leading the Texans right now. That's a big result. The Titans already lost today, so now the Browns jump them. They move up to 3 in the order. And what?
I didn't even think about it from our perspective. I was mostly just talking about from the Texans.
Oh no, yeah. I'm talking about like the draft. What did we just get done saying? We're talking about draft picks. This is about the draft right now. The Browns lost again today. The Titans won today. And so the Titans, I'm pretty sure, now go behind the Browns based on the strength of schedule. And the Browns move up to 3. And if the Raiders win, they still stay at 3, I think, because I think the Raiders right now, strength of schedule-wise, the strength of schedule is the tiebreaker when the teams are tied. So I think because of strength of schedule, they would be still ahead of them. But it's another win for the Raiders as they potentially slide down the order. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's a game next week between somebody and somebody.
The Giants and the Raiders. It's between the Giants and the Raiders.
Okay.
That one could decide what all plays out. We'll see.
Good night. I hate this. Why can't we just win football games, man?
Well, because you saw what happened on the field behind me. That's why they can't win football games, because they're not a very good football team. Anyway, all right, guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us. We've exhausted this conversation. Head on over though to brownsroundtable.com. My post-game column went up a little bit after the game. You can use the QR code at the top there to scan that if you want to jump over there quickly. Join the space, become part of the site and the community, jump in the comments and all that, and be part of the conversation every single week and day over there. But also follow us on our YouTube channel, where many of you might be watching this right now. We have our pre and post game shows. We have our weekly podcast that we do, and all kinds of other content from the press conferences and things throughout the week. So make sure you follow along with everything regarding the Cleveland Browns with us at brownsroundtable.com. We'll have more for you coming up here post game shortly, as comments in the locker room, all those different things. We'll have some more stories and things for you as well. So appreciate you hanging out with us. Sorry about the Browns loss. And if we don't talk to you before the end of the week or next week or whatever, I do want to wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you all. We are very grateful this time of year, especially for all of you and your support and following the site and the YouTube channel the way you guys do, because we certainly couldn't do any of this stuff without you guys and following along with the content we produce. So thank you. We will talk to you again real soon. In the meantime, keep on following along with all things Cleveland Browns with BrownsRoundtable.com.